I've often said this, like in, like bios and interviews, like I'm in bonus time. Like I've toured I've played well over 1,000 shows. I've played around the world. I've played awesome festivals. I felt what it's felt like to do that. And for me now, for me to just be able to make music that I want to make and follow my joy, I think that's it.
Welcome to the Showcast, a show about music, culture, and Memphis.
As we live into our mission of building community through music,
education,
and diversity,
we look forward to interviewing artists and musicians and hearing about how they are writing their own stories,
building their own communities.
85 years strong, and with a rich history, the Levitt Show has stood the test of time as a beacon of hope in the heart of Memphis. I can actually do that one more time if you want.
This podcast is brought to you by Orion Federal Credit Union, where a big part of us is being a big part of the community. Visit orionfcu.com to see how Orion is redefining banking.
Welcome to the Showcast. This is episode 11, and for today's episode, I spoke with Sanjay Seran, the Vancouver-bred creative. We spoke about his band Delhi to Dublin, his solo endeavors, the power of meditation, and more. Now, here's our conversation with Sanjay. Tell me, I guess, a little bit of what you've been doing to stay centered given these COVID-filled times.
Okay, well, I mean, it was nice going into this in the spring, like it was the end of February and then in, March. So that helped, like if this all happened, like it's now, I think going through the winter would have been a tough time to be like in lockdown mode. So where I live on an island called Galliano off between Vancouver and Victoria in the Pacific Northwest. So there I have land. Like I get to like have space, and I'm very, very blessed and so grateful for where I live. So I have the outdoors, and like this is a place where people visit. Once the lockdown happened, borders closed, like people were still visiting here. We're like, yo, man, like don't come from the cities and come here. Like, can't we just like lock our own island down and be safe forever? So I am always cognizant of the fact that I live in a place where tourists come, and a lot of the local economy is, relies on the tourists.
Right.
So I live in a beautiful place. Like that one is huge, and I get fresh air and I go outside, and, my wife is gardening and my kid is gardening and spending time, doing that sort of thing. But in the beginning, like it was kind of novel in the beginning. And then as the routines kind of stuck in, and I'm like, whoa, man, I'm losing my mind. What's going to happen here? And I really took to meditation. I started doing like Joe Dispenza meditations and going that route. And if you don't know Joe Dispenza, it's kind of like he comes from the quantum physics side of spirituality. Basically, it's been going on for a long time, but spirituality has now been proven by science and electromagnetic fields and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, it's not woo-woo stuff. And I kind of really enjoy his meditations. They kind of are a little bit different than the normal. And so in the beginning, I was doing like almost 2 hours of meditation a day, like 2 45-minute meditations plus like 15 minutes afterwards to like decompress and stuff. So
Wow.
that got me through. And I also started a solo career or project or whatever it's called. Like I started making solo music and just went down and did that. I, have a computer and a mic, so you're able to do whatever you want anywhere. And I just I went there. That was my place.
Word. I'm sure that's different from, Delhi to Dublin, where, you have others around you to bounce that creative energy off of going into this solo project.
100%, right? Like it's totally a different thing. One, it's like you bounce ideas off, and two, it's just the process just gets slowed down because Delhi to Dublin's quite a big beast. Just, oh, here's a song, and then, it's done. It's like, no, man, like everyone kind of has to be like, oh, and then it's like, oh, well, what do your lyrics mean? And you got to answer it, like after a while, you're like, come on, like it was liberating. It was freedom from that. And even the Delhi to Dublin beast, like the business side of that band is big. It's like, we're a small band, but we were like at the point where we were set up and functioning like a big band. And it's like, if anything had popped and we had become a huge band, like quote unquote overnight, we were ready for that. Like the systems were in place. So there's just a lot of moving parts and a lot of things. And when you're just doing it yourself, there's just one cog. And I think after being in the music industry for so long, like I don't even need to bounce ideas off of it. Although I have my producers, like I'm not creating the music myself. I'm still vocal centric. So yeah, I had an outlet. I had a creative outlet to turn to and a spiritual one. So I've been in a good place. I had these tools. So I'm lucky.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it. I mean, it's almost kind of symbolic that during this time where we're forced to kind of go into our own kind of silos, you branch off into this solo project, which I'm sure has been percolating for a while now, but it was just like an opportune time to now kind of focus on, your music, which I would love to kind of discuss a little further in the sense of what.
You're gonna want to love to listen to it too. Trust me.
Yeah, yeah, I've checked out, your first 2 singles, which I'm loving. I mean,
Oh, right on. That's awesome.
it's definitely, I mean, it's a different, obviously a different sound, but
Yeah.
a welcome sound, which, I mean, it's very much like electro pop, kind of R&B, and I'm loving just that message of you just feel the love that's just kind of permeating from the music,
Yes.
which I'm just trying to see if that was your point, and kind of during this time just really spreading the message of love. Is that your end goal with this new music?
It is, and it's almost more literal now. Like Delhi to Dublin is a love machine. Like when we play shows, there is a magic that I have recognized from a very early point, almost from the first show, that like the first collaboration we did. And when we finish a show, especially a show where it's like our own show, like we're Delhi to Dublin's playing and it's like a sold out show, and it's like that energy in there is insane. And it's like it just goes back and forth between the band and the audience, and it just goes and it goes and goes. And by the end of the night, you're just elated. I feel fantastic on stage. The audience is just uplifted to this point it's just so powerful. And I'm not saying we did it, but we in the room did it. Like it was, it's a thing. Like, you go into these meditations and everyone's electromagnetic vibration is bigger and their auras are bigger, and it's intermingling, but it's in such a positive thing that over an hour and a half, this magic is created amongst all, let's say, the 1,300 people in a room. And that was uplifting in a really awesome way. And then with this stuff that I'm doing now, it's much more literal. It's like love, like loving, like sex, like, and it's the same thing, it's the same energy, but it's just coming across more in in a sexier packaging.
Yeah.
And it's the kind, and for me it was like returning to kind of the music I grew up listening to, like what was on the radio, like Prince, and
Mm,
whatever. You can go like Genuine, Jodeci, all the stuff that 112, like this is
yeah.
all energy, and it is just a matter of how it's being presented. And I think it's the same thing but different, if that makes, same different, if we want to go in. It's energy, and it's like, I think I'm just harnessing it and throwing it out to the world in a slightly different way, but it's coming from the same place. I want to lift you up, I want to take you there. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I agree. I think that comes across. I mean, just going even back to, I caught the replay of Delhi to Dublin's 2017 Levitt Shell performance, which, like, from the beginning, you see the build of just that energy you're talking about. And by the end of it, you just see everyone just beaming, and it was almost radiating. And I think that's definitely felt, at least from the 2 singles I've heard, and your new music. It's just radiating that energy, and it leaves you just feeling like this warm kind of sensation, which I think is truly special. And I'm curious, what has, I guess, the response been, and I guess how are you kind of building that community? I know you can't obviously perform in person right now, but how are you continuing to kind of build that community, and spreading that love?
Like right now, I think it's just a matter of creating and putting it out there, like I'm doing the things. Like I look at it as it's all a game, whether life is a game or not. Like, is this a simulation or not? Like people will have this argument, and it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if it is a simulation. It doesn't matter if you are like a hardcore Christian or a Catholic or a Hindu or whatever. It doesn't matter what your belief system is of this thing. The end result is the same. And really is that you want to just like, you want to kill it, and you want to feel good, and you want to make people feel good, and you want to just like continue to grow. So like, if you know, you now you move to the music world, like it really is just a game. And because it's all algorithm based now, so that really has made it like a game. Like, you're just playing a video game against the boss.
Seriously.
Yeah, so what do I do? Like, I have a team that I'm working with to just feed the algorithms, and I don't have the clout to not do that. You know, I can't be like Beyonce and be like, yo, I'm dropping an album tomorrow, and all of a sudden it's on Tidal, which I own anyway, and here you go, right? Like, I don't have that power, so I have to play the game. But then I'm just like, okay, well, these are the parameters I'm given, and just like life, like these are the parameters. So I'm going to play the parameters and use the rules of the game to uplift myself and quote unquote win. And I think that's kind of like what life should be like, right? Like, you know, no matter what you're, and it's very easy for me to say because I'm sitting in a comfortable place. But when you know, you're given parameters, and you got to look at what's the best in your life, and you just play the game. So it's kind of what I'm doing. It's kind of how I look at it. It makes it more fun too. And you know, there is no pressure. I'm sitting at home. I can just, you know, I can just make the music and put it out. Like, when have I ever had the space to do that? Like, in terms of space and time, right? Like, it's kind of a magical moment. Like, this has never happened in our lifetime.
Very true.
So I'm like, whoa, man, I'm gonna use this. Why not? It was given to me. Like, it's very unfortunate what's happening, but it's like, I'm gonna look at, well, these are the parameters, and how do I make the best of it? I'm in this position, so this is what I'm gonna do.
Very true. I mean, I'm sure if not for COVID, you would be out touring, which
Yeah,
I feel like that was a big consumption of your time. I mean, you all were doing, as Delhi to Dublin, we're doing, 100 plus shows a year, correct?
I think by now we're probably down to about 80, you know, anywhere from 70 to 80 shows now, because it was, you know, trying to like not do everything. And I have a kid, but still it's a lot of energy. And you don't like want to come home and be like, all right, well, I'm going to go, and you know, I've been on the road for 2 weeks. We never really toured more than 2 weeks now too at a time, just because, you know, life is important, and we've missed enough things in the past. So you come home and it's like summer, and in between your weekends away, you're kind of like, well, I'm not going to like, I don't want to work on music. I kind of want to like catch up with the family and do these things that I miss out on. So now I can do that, and I have space for this, which is awesome.
Want to learn more about how you can support the Levitt Shell and its mission of building community through music, education, and diversity? Head to levittshell.org. You can read up on our 85-year history, check out our schedule of live and virtual events, visit our shell shop to grab all the swag, and find out ways you can participate in our mission, whether that's through donations, volunteering, sponsoring a show, or becoming a member of our Shell Circle. Once again, levittshell.org.
I guess kind of maybe backtracking a bit and going more in depth on kind of more the inner workings. Who are some of your musical inspirations?
Right now, there's St. John. I don't know if you know St. John. I mean,
That's a good one.
I can't, like, I feel I'm connected to this being on a molecular level, and his music speaks to me in like, I feel like a little kid feels like how they used to feel. Like, it's a bad example, but like, you know, like when I was younger, like Michael Jackson was untouchable.
Mm,
And now it's like I feel this towards St. John, and like, to be in my point in my career and at my age and all this stuff, to feel this invigoration from an artist that's like quote unquote technically new, you know, like he's been working for a long time, but like it's so magical for me. I'm like, I need to meet this person. I'm like waiting for him to be named world's sexiest person. I go, this is gonna happen. He's gonna, you know, like I'm just like I'm enamored by this being. So that's where, you know, I've been listening to St. John for a while. Oh my God, there's a story behind this too. But and I had tickets to see a show down in Seattle in March 18th, and the borders closed, and I was like, and then he really blew up.
oh
It
man.
was like in a 1,000-seat venue or something like that. It was like at the University of Washington. It wasn't even downtown Seattle, like a
Wow.
campus show, you know. And I'm like, and then he just blew up. That's what I'm feeling right now. St. John is huge for me. But growing up, I was very much like a radio, like an antenna. Like whatever was playing on the radio, I was singing it, you know. And then as I grew older, and I've said, you know, like I felt like in high school there was two ways you could kind of go. Now it's not like that. I feel like now you can listen to whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. And music genres kind of like cross over all the time. But back then it was kind of like you went to the rockish music or you were into like the hip hop music, you know, and then so like or like grunge or hip hop and stuff. And I went the hip hop route because I just felt that I don't know, it resonated with me being a Punjabi kid. The beats are much more like everything about hip hop culture, black culture resonated with me as a kid who was like an immigrant kid in Vancouver, you know, and Punjabi culture is similar in many ways in terms of like what the music beats and stuff feel like the hardness of that. But
Yeah.
that's just what I liked. And that's kind of, you know, like anywhere from Warren G to Snoop Dogg and all that in high school. And then as I got older, I really got into a lot more Punjabi music and Bhangra music. And that was fun. There was like a whole era and when I was kind of like involved with the underground music scene in Vancouver, like the electronic Indian electronic scene. And then I kind of, you know, really explored that a lot of like, then you kind of like follow that rabbit hole and it becomes like a lot of like dubbed out remixes and dub and stuff like that. And then like new school breaks. That was like that and drum and bass when it came to a point where I wanted to like if I wanted to dance, that's what I wanted to dance to, or Bhangra music, you know, like and then all of a sudden I was just like boom, like mumble rap and trap music came out and I'm like, oh, this I love. And I went straight back and I'm like, this is where I'm at right now. And the fact that I think it's really important to stay relevant listening to new music.
For sure.
I have a lot of friends who just kind of stopped. And then you see when the music influences stop, you see that they kind of stop in time. And my father-in-law is 74, 70. He just turned 74 or 75. And he is still to this day listens to like, he reads Rolling Stone, knows all of the newest pop music. And you just see his character and he's so young. You know, you can't see past it. Like he's so young.
That's awesome.
I think there's a, you know, huge correlation there. I also like, okay, so I like Black. I like St. John, just to answer the question for real. The Weeknd has been a huge influence since he first put out that album in 2011. The first Free 3 before it was released as the trilogy, that was just on repeat like forever. I used to, I don't know, Kid Cudi, a lot of like stoner chill stuff. And oh my God, like Travis Scott.
Word.
Oh, so good. There's so much good music out there.
Seriously, no, I love this. I mean, it's quite interesting that you have all these various influences. I mean, it just translates into your music because I feel like you pull from a lot of places. So that's really quite interesting and not surprising. But yeah, I guess in terms of Vancouver, I mean, how has being and living in Vancouver played a part in your music and you as an artist?
I feel like there's never been someone in Vancouver to really look up to for me. There's some really huge Punjabi artists that have come out of Vancouver. Jazzy B being the biggest, who has, you know, he's done a song with Snoop Dogg that was released in India and stuff. Well, I mean, obviously everything's released worldwide now, but that did well. But that still wasn't like my answer. You know, we don't have a Drake in Vancouver.
Right.
We don't have that, and it's related to a lot of things. I feel like one is we're just I mean, obviously we're a different city than Toronto is, and Toronto has a culture that Vancouver just doesn't have, and it's coming up now. There's a lot of young pop slash hip hop slash R&B people that are kind of coming up out of Vancouver now, and it's a pretty exciting time. Like some of the music that's being produced out here is pretty awesome, but in terms of like what I had to look to, I kind of had to look to people outside, and you know, the world, the music was at our like was everywhere. Like Napster came out when I was in university, and it was it. Like anything you wanted, it was right there, and it hasn't stopped since. Right? Like release Fridays. Like what a gift. All the music that I kind of like just shows up in my on my release radar. Like granted it's scary because like they're really shaping me towards one thing, but I have the ability to search out and find other things easily. And I'm aware of it. So I'm not, that I'm not stupid or ignorant here in that sense, but like man, like it just shows up. Music's just there. It's so exciting. I don't even know what your question was. I'm kind of like in it kind of you thinking, you don't sit around thinking about this stuff. So when you actually think about it, you're like, wow, like this is awesome. Like you get a lot. It's I guess the other side is like I'm fighting against all that too, right? Like there's a lot of noise. So there's just anyone can release anything from their bedroom nowadays. So how do you know? How do I get my name in front of people?
Right. I was going to say, I mean, that's kind of the question or the juxtaposition that I think a lot of artists are facing right now in the sense of how do you cut through and kind of separate yourself from, as some would say, like all this great music that's out there and all these other artists who are creating and have the resources and the same accessibility that you have.
I think what I'm doing now is I'm in a position where I'm actually just following my joy. So I'm looking at my Spotify plays. I'm looking at, the artists, the back end to see who's, I'm doing all the stuff, but really I'm just making music because I want to make it. And I've often said this like in, like bios and interviews, like I'm in bonus time. Like I've toured I've played well over 1,000 shows. I've played around the world. I've played awesome festivals. I felt what it's felt like to do that. And for me now, for me to just be able to make music that I want to make and follow my joy, I think that's it. Like, in what I believe in the world is that'll get me in front of the people that need to hear my music. Like it'll happen. So I'm really like, like coming from a place of this meditation where it's like the journey to get there is not like what was there, like we're always trying to build this beast, especially with Delhi to Dublin, like, I just want to get to this point, but then like, there's no point. There is no point. It never ends, right? Like you never get there. So like the whole point of getting there is gone when you never get there. So then you're like, oh, let's just keep on doing this because this is kind of what I like. So I really started to enjoy the whole process. Like a release date is awesome. And I'm like, the numbers will happen. Like, no, technically I'm an unknown artist, right? So, like, yeah, how do I get there? But I'm not stressed about it because I'm investing in Bitcoin. That's why. And it is bonus time. So if I'm not going to enjoy the process of kind of getting somewhere, whatever that is, then that's kind of like, it'd be wasted almost. It'd be kind of stupid.
No, I love that idea. Bonus time.
Yeah.
I love it. Man, your perspective is refreshing,
Thank
to
you.
say the least. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Oh man, I can't wait. Like I can't wait to get back on a stage and like say some of this stuff, like sorry, I cut you off.
No, I think it'll be very much needed, and I think it'll be well received. Especially, I think everyone's vying just to be able to go to a show, and I mean for you all as artists to perform in front of people. But I mean, for you to say that on stage, I think people are just gonna erupt. But no, I think yeah, it's really been a pleasure speaking with you, Sanjay. I mean, I love Delhi to Dublin. I'm loving your new work, and I'm excited to hear more. And if you would, for those who are listening, if you could say where they can find you as well as more of your music.
For sure, my music is so I go by Sunju, SNJU, with an oblot on the U. So Sunju Galaxy are my tags for everything. So Instagram, I'm on every platform. YouTube, Instagram. I got a website which is sunjugalaxy.com. Yeah, I'm anywhere. SNJU. Just type me in and you shall find me. Sunju Galaxy.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
like I said, I'm looking forward to hearing more, and hopefully we'll be able to see you perform live again soon, very soon. That's episode 11 of the Shellcast. Thanks again to Sanjay. To hear more of his new solo releases, check out Sanju, SNJU, on all DSPs. Make sure you subscribe to hear all of our episodes. To keep our tradition of passing around the tip bucket, which started in 1936, please feel free to drop a small gift at levittshell.org/virtualbucket to support the Levitt Shell. Thanks again, and be sure to tune in for our next episode of the Shellcast.